Bam! What's going on? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this latest episode of the Ominus Morning Show. My name is Elliot Rodriguez. You can see it right here. I am the host for this very humble, small show on the spaces of YouTube. And yes, so today my guest, um, unlike myself, my guest is experienced AF in the indie comic scene. He has produced massive amounts of books. He's got an extensive catalog of characters, and this is the second time that I have him on the show. Previously, we talked about his comic Projectile Reptile, and we took a look at the campaign, at the characters. I was excited to hear about how he's handling such a big universe of characters, and which is not easy at all. And so he's back again with another comic, and we're going to look at it today. And I'm excited to see what it's about because I know very little about it. I have seen it before, but I'm not too informed of what the comic itself is about. So we're going to be sure to talk to my good friend Dojo Kun about that. So without any further ado, please welcome to the stage. Welcome to the show, my good friend Dojo. Hey, what's going on?
How are you, Elliot?
What's going on, Dojo? Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to see you. Thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me on the show. Hey, listen, the intro.
Yeah.
I was digging that intro so much, I was almost bummed that it was going to end. You got to send me that song.
Yeah. Here's a fun fact, and I don't know if anybody knows this. I doubt anybody knows this, but a fun fact about that: I made that beat.
Did you?
Yeah. I what was it, like 6 years ago? A friend of mine installed this beat making software on the computer that I had back then. And I was playing around with it, and I was able to create that and some other beats also. And so yeah, nice. That's 100% mine. So I'm glad you liked it. That's why I was able to use it without any copyright, any problems like that. So
this is true. Sweet. That's right. Hail, Duck Bacon! Thanks for being here.
Oh, what's up, Doug Bacon? Yeah. For people that are watching this in the replay, people that are watching this now, please take a look at Doug Bacon. He's on Instagram. He's on Twitter. He's an excellent artist. I'm really digging his work recently. He does his own colors also, I think, and he does digital work. Really good stuff. He does a lot of fan art of Marvel characters and DC characters, and really good stuff. Thank you very much for stopping by, Doug Bacon. It means a lot, and I'm a fan of yours. And yeah, man. Says hey, I'll probably able to catch it. Yeah, thank you very much for stopping by, man. And yeah, so Dojo, thank you very much for stopping by. Please tell us what brought you here. I'm just kidding. I know. You're currently running another campaign, so please tell us what that's about.
Okay. Yes.
While I share.
The new campaign is called Janice Hardy's The Healing Wars, Book 1, Part 1, The Shifter. And the reason it's such a long title is it is an officially licensed adaptation of her trilogy of novels. She's an award-winning novelist, and I got an official license. I'll tell you how that came about in just a minute here, but I'm able to adapt her books into comic book form, and she's pretty excited about it. I'm thrilled to be able to do this because I think that this will help Dojo Kun Comics reach a wider audience. This is not part of that superhero universe you were talking about just a few minutes ago. I have about 150 plus characters in the superhero universe, but this one, of course, is set in her world. She did a lot of world building that I think that she could be very proud of. She's not only an author of these novels, she's got several other novels out there, and she has a blog or a podcast that she calls Fiction University. So she's quite the writer. She teaches people how to write, how to do specific hooks, the hero's journey, how to look for, keeping the tense of the narrative going in the proper. So you can't be talking past tense, then suddenly you're future tense, suddenly you're present tense.
Yeah.
So she talks about making sure that you're consistent with the tense and the character voices. So she's got a lot to offer, and I'm very fortunate that she's also my editor on this book. So what's cool about that is She has final say and final approval of what goes in these comic books. And I wouldn't want it any other way, because I want this to reflect her vision of the world that she created.
Nice. So how did you meet her? How did you get in contact with her? How did this whole
Yeah,
collaboration
it's a
come
great
together?
story. And fortunately, it's a short one. So my wife read her novels, and knowing that I'm a big fan of things like Lord of the Rings and The Wheel of Time and Song of Ice and Fire, she said, because you're a high fantasy fan, you might like
Yeah.
these. She said they're a real quick read because their intended audience is a young adult audience. She said, but don't let that, make you think that it's just for kids. She said, you definitely will enjoy this. And she was absolutely right. I really did enjoy the books, to the point where I was telling my friend Steve about it. And Steve's like, oh yeah, I read those. Do you want to talk to the author? I was like, what?
Wow.
Sure. How would you arrange that? He says, I work remotely, and so does her husband. I know him. I can get you in touch with her. So
Crazy.
even though he's in another, or she and her husband are in another state, my friend Steve was able to get me in touch. And when I asked her about the, I pitched to her my idea about adapting these into comic book forms, she was very excited. And here we are. I'm happy about it.
Wow. So would you say it's like a completely by luck situation that happened? I mean, did your wife know that you were friends with the author's
No,
husband?
no, none of us knew any of
Wow,
this. This is all complete chance. I mean,
that's
sure,
crazy.
I liked the novels, but what are the chances I would talk to my friend about liking novels? I mean, I read books all the time. I just
Yeah.
happened, I had talked to him just as I finished the last one. So I was like, it was top of mind. I was just thinking about it because I just finished it. And so I mentioned it to him. If I hadn't even mentioned it, I wouldn't have even known that there was any
Man.
connection there to talk to the author.
Wow, those kinds of things always blow my mind, and
Yeah.
me personally, because I believe in I'm a Catholic, I always attribute those kinds of things to providence. Like that's something that's almost like meant to be in a certain sense. So
All
that's
part of the
awesome. That's
plan.
awesome. Yeah, like all part of the plan. Like
Okay.
it happened because it had to happen that way. That's awesome, and
All right.
that's really
Well,
cool. And so yeah. Well, yeah. Glad that you took it up. And what about the novel caught your attention? What was it that because for example, for the people that don't know in the chat, Dojo is an avid comic reader. He's a big fan of comics, and I know that he loves in particular group comics like Teen Titan, like new Teen Titans. And so, is there something related, like connected there with this story and your preferences? Would that be safe to say? What attracted you to the project?
well, what attracted me most as I was reading these novels is the fact that it is a female protagonist starting from very meager beginnings. And
Mm,
so it's very much a hero's journey kind of story. So this, if I had to liken this to any other novels or movies that I've seen, because the novels I'm going to refer to were turned into movies, I would say this is similar to something like The Hunger Games or
mm,
Divergent. Um,
nice.
so the female protagonist is in a world, and in a world of a lot of struggles and hurdles that she has to overcome, and ends up taking on the responsibility of being the hero because it appears to her as if no one else is. Now she does meet some other people who are down low trying to fight the occupying army, um, and they end up teaming up. So I suppose in reference to your mention of my liking the Teen Titans and the X-Men and all that, you're right. I do like team efforts. I like the interplay of the characters. I particularly like those two, the Teen Titans from the 1980s and the Uncanny X-Men of the same era, because they weren't just written as a bunch of heroes who came together to fight a bad guy. They
Yeah.
are heroes who had a common bond. Additionally, in addition to just being teammates, they also became very close friends, almost unto a family. And it's those kinds of things that make the characters relatable. And the interplay between the characters that Janice writes is along the same veins. These characters
Nice.
have understandable and relatable relationships.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Because yeah, I haven't had the last time that you were here. I asked you for some recommendations of stories to read, and you brought up Teen Titans. I got the first 40 issues on digital, and I'm planning on reading those, but I haven't yet. But I have read a Mutant Massacre the X-Men. Are you familiar with that plot line?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I had never read it before, and I've read it recently. And man, what a great story! And exactly what you say. No, each it's a unit, but made from completely different integral parts. Like each superhero has their own personality. I love that Claremont in that story was able to give like the inside thoughts and like the personal situations that they were dealing with, as they were going through this mission to fight the bad guys. No, but and yeah, so it's opened my eyes to like what team books are, because my exposure to comics has mostly been Spider-Man, and it's usually just him fighting. Every now and then you see him like collaborate with Daredevil or whatnot, but it's just mostly just one central character. And so that exposure to group stories was really great, and I want to read more of it, and I can't wait to dive into Titans. And if you say that this is related to this, connected to that, then I look forward to this as well. And
so mentioning the Mutant Massacre, like Duck Bacon says, it was epic. The main villains in the Mutant Massacre are those cyborgs, and those cyborgs are a result of what Wolverine did back at the beginning of the Dark Phoenix saga. So
exactly,
he gets in a fight with the Hellfire Club, and he slices and dices some of their basic, their henchmen, their thugs, and those henchmen near death become the cyborgs that he faces in the Mutant Massacre.
Yeah. That's just great writing. Yeah, it's just awesome stuff. Yeah, I read Dark Phoenix also, and the Hellfire Club was also good. Yeah, really good stuff. And I'm just discovering some of these for the first time. But yeah, really impressive writing. And I look forward to digging more into that. And especially I want to check this book out also, because I like that that dynamic that you mentioned, that group effort, and then while still maintaining each character's personality intact along the way. So that's really awesome. And I had a few questions about Janice. Has she written other novels? Is this her first time?
These were her first novels, but she does have a few others. She's got a short story, it's called, in a book called Aid Against Humanity. And then she's got another one that is, I think it's a vampire book. So she likes to branch out. Nice.
Yeah, awesome stuff.
Hail Immortal Rising.
Yeah, Immortal Rising's in the chat. Thank you very much for stopping by. Yeah, I agree. Claremont is a genius. That's correct. And I'm just like tapping into that iceberg, and I'm really curious about what else I'm going to discover there. But yeah. So because then I was curious, like Janice herself has never, and I'm sorry that we're talking a bit about her, but I just find it fascinating how this all came together. And has Janice ever thought about crowdfunding before herself? Does she have any intentions of maybe like coming on stream or?
Well, she's been on a stream before with on Bancroft's show. She was on there, and my entire creative team was on there at one point. Nice. But I'll tell you, as far as crowdfunding goes, I'm going to have to go out on a limb here and say she doesn't need it, because she's being published by HarperCollins. HarperCollins is a worldwide publishing firm. It's a specific subsidiary of HarperCollins. Let me see if it's called Balzer Bray, but it is an imprint of HarperCollins. So yeah, she's got quite a good publishing support.
Yeah, that's true. So if she's doing her books and if she's getting published, then she probably won't be too interested in taking too much effort into going into the crowdfunding. So yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. And so how does the licensing work? I mean, how were you able to do that? How does that situation?
As I understand it, there's a lot of different ways that this can happen. Neff took me to school, 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago on his show, and really started describing how licensing works in his world. But to be fair, there are variations on the theme. So for her and I, it was, I'll say it, even though she's female, it was a gentleman's agreement. We did end up putting it in writing, so nobody panic when I say it was a gentleman's agreement. It is in writing, and it does have an expiration date. And the reason I say that is this. Some of you may be aware that Projectile Reptile is not yet fulfilled. And why then am I launching another project? Because that seems hypocritical when I get on other creators for doing that. Like, hey, finish this before you start that. However, the reason for that is this has an expiration date. And despite the passion and excitement I have for this project, and Janice is well aware of that, if that license ability expires, she would then, of course, if I let it expire, she could think perhaps he's not as excited as I thought, and then take this to somebody else to publish as a comic book. So I'm not sure she would do that. I mean, she seems like a great person, and she may reach out to me first and say, you know, I might be willing to extend this. And then again, maybe not. She may see the excitement here in this cover and say, I see a potential and I need to take this to somebody who'll get it done. So I need to get going on getting this done, to be honest with you. So that's one of the reasons I do that. Oh, Chauncey's here. Hey, Chauncey, good to see you.
Chauncey.
So I need to get it moving. I've already got some of the art done. As you can see, the covers are done. Some of the interior art is done. I've already made some efforts on this. I don't want all that to go to waste. In fact, I don't even want my own time to go to waste. I've spent a lot of time distilling this novel down to comic book form. This 28-page comic book covers the first 92 pages of her novel.
Wow.
So, you know, I had to pick the scenes that I thought would move the story along best. I had to make sure that, using the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words, I had to make sure that Zilson would portray what was going on without having to put it in exposition form and explain it to people. They should just be able to see on the page what's happening. So, you know, that's kind of important. Elliot, with the way you've shared it, are you able to play the trailer with the audio?
Yeah, I can do that. But right now I'm sharing an image that I downloaded from the internet because I wanted to zoom in so people can see the art.
I see. No, but, good point. Yeah, this is amazing. Now, the first time this piece of art by Zilson was colored, it was colored by a very inexperienced colorist. This time, though, I went out and had Don Edwards do it. You may know him in the chat as the Don.
The Don.
So, the Don. Yeah,
shout out to Don.
Shout out to him and his upcoming project. On October 25th, he's launching on Bancroft's show. It's called God's Eye Omega Mission.
Omega Mission.
Yep. So that'll be releasing soon, and that's entirely Don's work. Don and I, as soon as he discovered the indie scene, he and I have been in touch. So I kind of brought him on a couple of projects of mine, but he also got the bug and wanted to do his own, which I don't blame him. He's a great artist.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this is the perfect time to do it. Also, yeah, it's awesome that he's taking that chance. And just, I'm sorry to go back, but you said that the first 92 pages of this novel have been condensed, I guess we can say, into 28 pages of comic book form.
Yes.
How many pages is the book itself?
The book is 400 pages. So each of these books is roughly that much, give or take 10 or 20 pages. And my plan is for each of the novels to release it in 5 comic books. So if all goes well, and as you can imagine, I hope it does, if all goes well, I'd like to see 3 5-issue miniseries to cover the entire trilogy. So 15 books, hopefully, 15 comics.
Nice. And how is that going to translate into graphic novels? So you're going to do this first one with 28 pages, and then the next one
roughly the 28. Same.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. It might be 26 or 30. It's got to be a multiple of 4, though, so I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be 32, or then
exactly. You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
So and what was I going to say about that? Oh, so she has final say, of course, like I said earlier, and she liked where I chose to end this chapter.
Okay. And she has final say also with the art. Like, does she? If she has any questions about the art, does she have any say?
She does get to see it before it goes into the book. She understands that there is a certain amount of editing we can do, but beyond that point, it becomes more expensive. You know, because you can't keep asking the artist to keep changing it. So what I do is I tweak it as best I can so that it matches what's on the script. And then she could say, I don't like this part right here, she looks too old. She's supposed to be a 14-year-old, or, that kind of thing. Also, too, I wanted to tell you about my writing style. I've been an actor since I was a sixth grader, an actor and a singer. So I've been in plays and musicals. So when I picture writing a comic book script, I take the word script very literally, and I write it as if it's a play. So I'm telling the artist, from over her right shoulder, behind her, we're seeing the other person looking at her. So I'm very specific as to what appears in the panel. Having said that, I'm also I hope that the artist feels he has enough leeway to suggest a better angle or a different idea. And Zilson has suggested it a few times. Most of the time he hits what I wrote perfectly. But every once in a while he said, hey, what do you think about this? And it turns out most of the time he's absolutely right. Because after all, he's an artist. He's got the artist's eye. I'm #just a writer. So, when he does this, we've got a great rapport, he and I. And he worked with me on Siamese number 3 and 4. So nice. We've already got a good working relationship going. Yeah, Duck Bacon, you're absolutely right. Zilson is a beast. He's very good. I was going to say a monster. I hesitated there because monster has something to do with what he does also in his private time, and that he's in a Brazilian heavy metal band.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so nice. We also have music in common.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Heavy metal. Nice. So what else I was going to ask? So you were able to get the artist because you've worked with him previously.
Right.
On Siamese also. Oh, nice. Okay. And I forgot what else I was going to ask. So on this comic project, she's also the editor, and she makes any changes and then works also and contributes to the project in that aspect also.
Yep.
Nice. So and then okay, so then and what happens? Like you said that there's an expiration date. So if you go past that expiration date and then you don't produce an actual book, then she can take it somewhere else. But if you do at least get one book done, then you'll be able to continue and then produce more books into the future. Or
particularly if this gets funded and it's a success, she'll see that I'm serious about this, passionate about this, and I think she'll stick with me. Yes. What I'm hoping to do with these floppies, as I think you started to allude to before, is each one being about 28 pages, and I expect there to be 5 per novel. I'd love to eventually collect all 5 into a trade paperback representing each one of the novels, and then maybe way down the road, if those are a success, collect the whole 15 issues into like an omnibus of the Healing Wars. I mean, that might be a little bit ambitious, but as you alluded to when you were introducing me, I've been at this a while. I've been writing and producing comic books since 2010. I started my own publishing company in 2014. And I've got 11 books before Siamese. Then I published Siamese. I've got Projectile Reptile ready to wrap soon. And then this one here will be number 14. So yeah, I'm rocking and rolling. I plan to continue doing this even if crowdfunding dries up. And I know you want to talk about crowdfunding in a little bit.
Yeah. Actually, how was that landscape back in 2010? Like, how would someone who wanted to create comics, how would they approach the scene back then? How did you get in contact with artists? How did all that happen in those early days?
So in 2010, I had stopped collecting comic books at that point for about 10 years. I stopped in 1999. I had to quit cold turkey because I had 2 toddlers, and I was collecting every DC, every Marvel, every Dark Horse, and every Image title, literally. And that was a lot of money. And it was really becoming too much. I'll be honest. It was far too much. So I said, how am I going to choose? I said, you know what? I'm not going to choose. I'm just going to stop collecting. And I did for about 10 years. At that 10-year mark, I got the bug again. I kept seeing things happening on the movies, and I'm like, I can't. So I decided I'm going to come back into comics. I'm going to collect She-Hulk. I'm going to collect anything Juggernaut is in, and I'm going to collect the DC character Superboy, but not the one from the Legion of Superheroes, the one in the black shirt with the jeans. So that would be Connor Kent, the one who was the clone in the Reign of Superman. So,
Wow.
at the beginning, he had like a leather jacket on. Well, he shed that look. And then instead he has the black t-shirt with the red S. I really dug that character, the character concept. So those are the 3 characters I was going to collect. And as you can imagine, it's branched out since then. I collect Firestorm, I collect Starman, so there's some other ones I collect. But I have every appearance of She-Hulk since 1980 when she debuted, which means I have 2,500 issues that She-Hulk has been in, including even if she only appeared in a tiny piece of the cover. So like Hawkeye, this miniseries, number 4, the back of her head is at the bottom of the cover. So I had to collect it. One. She's on it. Yep.
And that collection, for example, is complete. You have every single appearance of hers.
Everything she's been in since 2010. Sorry, since 1980.
From 1980 to 20. The 10-year where you stopped collecting was from 2000 to 2010.
Yes.
Okay. And then you picked it back up in 2010.
I picked it back up. So back to your question, what was the crowdfunding scene like then? Honestly, I don't know. I made my the reason I brought up She-Hulk. I wrote a She-Hulk script. I refined it over the course of about 6 months, and I thought, now I'm ready to take this to Marvel. So I went to the Marvel website and I scoured their website for their submission process, and I couldn't find it. I kept going back to it. I finally found a little tiny paragraph at the bottom of a page that says, basically, you don't.
Yeah.
It said, you don't. You go get published and we'll find you.
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing that I saw. Yeah.
So what I did was I reached out to this website called ZWOL, ZWOL.org. It still exists, and it's still for the same purpose. It brings writers, artists, letterers, and colorists together to create comic books. Now, understand that there are varying skill levels in this arena. Some people need a lot of practice. They need to get back to the drawing board and really work every day. Other people, though, are pretty skilled, but then if they're more skilled, the price goes up. So you've got to keep all that in mind, right? So however, on ZWOL, I saw an ad that says, we're looking for someone to help write our comics and help us with accounting. So I'm like,
oh, nice.
Have we met?
Nice.
Have we met already? because that's what I did for a living at the time.
Yeah.
I'm an auditor, I'm a fraud examiner. So I was like, wow, all right. So I reached out to them, sent them my resume for the accounting part and my sample She-Hulk script. They hired me within an hour.
Nice.
So awesome. I started writing for that company for a couple of years. I split with them and then wrote for another company for a year or two. And then in 2014, started my own.
Nice. What issues did you put out with that company?
With the first company called Affinity Press, I wrote Shadow Faction. Issues 0, 1, and 2 were published.
Shadow Faction.
Yep. Issue 3 was written and completely drawn, but I don't think it ever got released.
Oh, wow.
Then with Red King Press, I did a bit more work for them. But I did Siamese 1 through 4 was actually originally written for Red King Press. When he and I parted ways, he owed me quite a bit of money. So I said, either pay me the money I'm due or release Siamese to be my IP. Well, he didn't have the money, so Siamese became mine.
Nice. So that wasn't originally your creation.
Well, it was mine. I wrote it.
You created it, but under the label of
under Red King Press
crazy
banner. So then so he signed it over to me. It's official. And then I re-released Siamese 1 through 4 under the Dojo Kun label. And then in late 2020 and early 2021, I crowdfunded Siamese. It funded in 3 days and fulfilled. So I do know some things about crowdfunding. I do still have a lot to learn, it seems. But we're on the right track.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a trial and error. No, you never know exactly what's going to work, what doesn't.
Right.
Some projects seem to fit the formula, but then they don't really measure up. And then others that seem that they're not going to do it well, they end up, bringing in a lot of money. So it's really a who's who of what's going to work and what's not. So yeah, I mean, this is good.
So listen to this, Elliot.
Yeah.
This is your cover, right?
Oh yeah. 1 second.
And who did you do this for?
I did that for Paul, and Paul's in the chat.
Paul Bird in the chat. So there's another connection. Paul is my letterer on the Shifter.
Yeah.
So it's all for
shout out
full
to
circle.
Paul.
How you doing, Paul? Good to see you.
Yeah, shout out to Paul. Yeah, thanks, Paul, for giving me that opportunity to do that artwork. And yeah, we've done a lot of work with Paul. Also, he's also the letterer for my comic. Also, yeah, it was he's a really good. He's really talented.
Yes.
And he's won contests, and he's an excellent letterer. Excellent person to work with. I recommend if anybody's looking for a letterer, hit up Paul. After he finishes, of course, working with Dojo.
Right.
We don't want to overwhelm him. And
so Paul is one of the people I know who is also a teacher, along with my co-host on Incendiary, Peter Orchard. So the two of them are teachers, nice. And they're often talking about the ability to share these comic books with their students. Because, you know, although there are some all ages comics, there aren't enough, in my opinion. I mean, I know there's a place for the characters with the big titties, the small waist, the nice plumpness. I appreciate those. There's a time and place for those. But there also needs to be an opportunity to make comic books for all ages. And this book is one of them. I'm very proud of this. My wife is much happier that I'm doing this kind of a book than the ones with the TNA. Although I keep telling her this one has TNA. It's talent and ability.
Nice. It definitely does, man. Nice. So, so this is this going to be like a first in other all ages stories that you plan to work on also, or is this
I do plan for my superhero universe not to become young adult only, but I want it to be on your coffee table, and it's okay if a 10-year-old picks it up and looks at it.
Yeah,
So, you know, moving forward, although the characters can still be sexy, I'm not going to sexualize them. There's a difference between them.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to be attractive and sexy. After all, see, the thing is, people say, why are they all always so thin and built? Because they're superheroes. They're athletic.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be in constant action, constant combat. Their muscles, their bodies are going to be honed to fitness by their constant activity. So I'm sorry, it just makes sense that they are fit.
Exactly. Yes, because I could not take on Thanos at all in my condition.
I would come in my dojo.
Dojo. Yeah, Dojo. He's got the skills. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So yeah, that's it's great to hear. I know Jake from Tail End Studios is also working on an all ages book, and I agree. I think we need more of that because what we need to bring into the comic scene are the young kids, not so much the adults, because they're already hooked. No, but we need to bring in new readers, and yeah, I think all ages is the best way to approach that. I'm going to try my best to make mine all ages, but I think mine is going to lean more towards young adult. But I'm going to try my best. PG-13? Yeah, because I mean, in my case, my story is not so much like the sexuality, but I think the violence in my case might be a little bit.
So maybe NC-17 would be your book.
Something, yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to draw too much gore, but I mean, like in this last 10-page thing that I did, there's a scene. No, wait, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'll tell Dojo later on. But there's a scene in there that I don't draw too gorish, but it's something implied. So I don't know, but I'll try my best to keep it, because I believe in that idea, and I believe in the idea of making it for the kids, because I think kids need to pick up books and read again in some way or form, because they're not doing that as much, I believe.
Right, they're just looking for the graphics on the screen,
like and video games and stuff. Yeah, something to give them like a quick hit of like some, because everything's got to be fast for them, and
the endorphins.
And so yeah, definitely. So I agree with that idea. That's awesome. And would you say that Siamese is the flagship title of Dojo Kun?
Yes. In fact, shortly after the Shifter is done, I plan to go to Dojo Kun Chronicles next, which is almost complete. It's going to be an 80. It's almost over 100 pages now of brand new stories with just 20% reprints from a book I published earlier called Toro Tales. So there's going to be a lot of new stuff in Dojo Kun Chronicles, but I'm not changing the subject. The one right after that is Siamese 2, Trident's New Alliance. And that goes back to what you were saying as far as how much I love group stories or team efforts. So Trident's New Alliance will introduce the superhero team in my universe, of which Siamese is a part.
You said Trident's New Alliance, I think. Yes?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, you have a picture of them on the website.
I do.
Yeah, that's right. I remember talking about them.
It's going to be a wraparound cover. So I've got a lot of things in the queue that are already underway, working hard to get them done. So yeah, hopefully this and Projectile Reptile wraps soon. Hopefully this is a success and I can just keep the train rolling.
Nice. That sounds great, man. And I appreciate and I applaud the efforts that you're doing, and then I hope that you can continue making more projects, because they have I appreciate the care that you give, because it's not just hashing things together. You take your time and write good stories.
Thank you.
And so
I've been collecting comic books for 50 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. He's like, dude, you're ancient.
No, I don't mean it like that, but that number is.
I get it. 50 years now I've been collecting comic books. So I'm not saying I'm as good as those writers, but I try to emulate Claremont. I try to emulate Wolfman from the Teen Titans. I look at what they did and try to do my best to match that. And of course, whether or not I fall short is up to the people who are reading it. But just like I'm not an artist, I can tell you if art is good or not when I look at it. Now, of course, your mileage may vary. You may think that Carmine Infantino was an amazing artist, and a lot of people do. I think his stuff looks rushed and sloppy, but that's just me. I have, with 50 years experience of reading comic books, I've got my favorites that I will, die on that hill, that Perez is the best comic book artist who ever lived, R.I.P. And although Byrne has a certain amount of arrogance and attitude, I still think he's one of the very best ever.
And why in my opinion, in my personal opinion, like Byrne and Perez, they have a very similar style, I guess you would say, because it's not too cartoony and it's not too realistic. It's like almost like there in the dead center.
It's right in the sweet spot for comic books. Yes.
Is that what you consider like the best place, the best way to do your art, like not to either extreme?
Absolutely, yes. If you go too realistic, it looks like you're trying to be maybe too artsy, too artistic, over the top, trying to make it look like a painting instead of a drawing. And then if you're too cartoony, although sometimes that can be fun, let's be honest, I still think for my comic books, I want it to be right down the middle so that it's a little bit of both. I think that's the sweet spot, like Perez and Byrne had, and there's a few others that fit that niche as well.
Which artist would you consider, and this isn't to throw shade at anybody, but which artist, pros or in the indie scene also, if you have any examples, would you consider to be too realistic where it doesn't tickle your fancy?
Sometimes Alex Ross is too realistic. Now keep in mind, again, he's a painter. He was a portrait painter before he ever got into comics. And in fact, when somebody first suggested to him that he do comic books, he was like, dude, I'm a serious artist. I'm not going to get it. Wait a minute. How much are you going to pay me? Oh,
I like Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Suddenly he was like, whoa. And another one, although Joe Jusko, I don't think it's too realistic. Sometimes his stuff looks like they are actual photographs. His stuff are so realistic. He does fabrics like you wouldn't, like you think that it's actually a picture, a photograph of a person. So, but I don't know if that's good for comic books. I think that's good for painting, pinups of comic book characters. That's awesome. But as far as the interiors, I think it wouldn't flow as well.
Well, what about in terms of inking? Like, is there anybody that you say that inks that too realistic? Because there's also like artists that go heavy on inks. Not I tried to bash my own art, but they go heavy on inks to the point where like they want to make, like, for example, I hear all the time that Wrightson is an excellent artist, and Wrightson, like, he renders the crap out of every image.
It's
and then,
super inked. Yeah.
Would you consider that too realistic for?
Well,
how would you?
keep in mind that my take on it is going to be from the production standpoint. I love Wrightson's art. I think it's incredibly beautiful. The one of Frankenstein's lab is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
That was just an amazing piece. However, for practicality purposes, I think that would make producing a comic book take far too long.
Yeah.
If you do that and make it too detailed, too rendered, you're not going to get these pages done. And you know, I got stuff to do. You know, I need these pages done. So
Nice.
I need, so that would be why I might, you know, avoid somebody who does all of that heavy inking.
Nice. I hear you. And what about the other extreme? Too cartoony. Who would you consider too cartoony for comics?
Well, anything manga is too cartoony to me. I can't stand it. It's the proportions. I don't like the disproportionate eyes, the head bigger than it should be for the body, and things like that. I hate the disproportionate items. Let's not harp on that. But also too, I think that a lot of artists lately, particularly, I think it was either Nightwing or Teen Titans in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Hot garbage. I mean, oh my gosh, that I can't believe the stuff that they're allowing to represent their companies.
Nice. I hear you. Awesome. And so Perez and Byrne in the sweet spot, definitely. And so no Wrightson, somewhere in the middle. There you go.
That's right. Yep.
I like that. And with all this all of these comics that you've read, is there anything that impresses you at all? Is there something that or do you think that you've seen it all in comics? Where do you feel on that? Have you been surprised by a comic recently or anything?
Well, recently,
what can you say to that?
Yeah, recently I'd say that She-Hulk took a turn for the worse a few years back, but recently it's improved. The covers, I think, have been striking. They're almost like primary colors. They really stand out in my opinion. So I like that. But as far as the writing goes in the interiors, although I think they could pick up the pace a little bit, I think that it's back to being fun. She's back to being a capable individual who has concerns and characterization. So I think that they're doing a bit better with She-Hulk again. Again, not as good as she's been handled in the past. Charles Soule did a pretty good run writing her as a lawyer. And what helped him do that is he's a lawyer. So, you know, that helps there. A lot of people look at John Byrne's run on She-Hulk as a gold standard, and that's what they based the television series on. But I think he actually made her a punchline, a joke during his run on She-Hulk. I think when he wrote her proper is when he wrote her as a member of the Fantastic Four. That series, that run on the Fantastic Four, where John Byrne was the writer and artist and She-Hulk was a member, was the best characterization of She-Hulk I've ever seen.
Nice.
So Byrne went from writing her the best I've ever seen to something I consider a joke. And I think he found himself, he was too enamored with his own cleverness. I think he was trying to be funny and clever. And it became, she was the butt of the joke over and over and over again. People say that, you know, she was one of the first to break the fourth wall way before Deadpool did. Yes. She and Animal Man from DC also broke the fourth wall at around the same time. But way before that, Superman broke the fourth wall at the end of almost every issue. He would turn to the reader and say something to the reader or wink at us when Lois Lane was saying something about Superman. So the fourth wall is broken decades before She-Hulk, Animal Man, or Deadpool ever did it.
Sweet. Wow.
Oh, yeah, and I don't plan to do that, by the way.
Nice.
I'm keeping the fourth wall up.
Nice. Yeah, I actually like messing with that. But in my comic, I'm not going to touch that. But I do have another IP that I would like to mess with that because I like that concept. I've always found that fascinating. But yeah, and you were talking about the recent She-Hulks. There's a cover, or the one that I remember is one where it's just She-Hulk flexing, and I think the art was done by Jen Bartel, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. I think it was really good. Throwback to back to those days, and yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And oh yeah, Paul knows. Yeah, Gino and Short. Yeah, that's correct. That's the IP that.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul's doing the lettering for that comic also, but that's probably going to come out years from now because I have
spoiler
to
alert.
my other one. Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for putting me on blast on my own show, Paul. I appreciate it. But yeah, no, so awesome stuff. And yeah, so let's talk about let's go back to Shifter. You mentioned earlier that she's a teenager,
Right.
and from the looks of the image that I have here, no, she's got powers also. What can you tell us about her powers?
I think
Or
that
just describe her in general, also because
if you don't mind going to the trailer, I'd like you to listen to that one. That will set the stage for me.
1 second, let me take a look.
It's a really short trailer. It's only 30 seconds.
Yeah. I think this is it.
Janice doesn't call the powers that they have mutant abilities, but they are an innate ability that people have, and the trailer will explain that.
Is an orphan with a rare gift.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure the audio is okay.
Naya is others with this gift.
I'm sorry.
What are you doing, dude?
Let's check this out. All right, sir. Let's check it out.
Okay.
I'll play it. 1 second.
Naya is an orphan with a rare gift. Others with this gift can take pain from a person and transfer it into the cobalt blue metal known as pinvium. But Naya's gift is flawed. She can only transfer pain from one person to another. Orphaned on an island nation occupied by a conquering enemy and trying to locate her missing sister, Naya has to make sure they don't find out, or she'll be weaponized against her own people. Be sure to back Janice Hardy's The Healing Wars, Book 1, Part 1, The Shifter, from Dojo Kun Comics.
Oh, that's dope.
So there is an organization, it's a religious organization called the Healing League, or the Healers League. And in that organization, they recruit teenagers who have the ability to shift pain from a person and heal their wounds, but shift the pain into this blue metal. Okay. Naya's gift, like the narrator said there, she can't do that. She can't transfer it into the metal. She can only transfer it into another person. So she can't be hired by the Healers League. She needs to avoid them because they will ostracize her and treat her like a freak. The opposing army, though, that has occupied her nation will use her as a weapon if they find out. So she's got to keep her abilities on the down low. Her sister Talia, who is in the big blonde ponytail there on the cover that you see, Talia is in she's in the Healers League, and so she's got to keep her sister a secret. She recruits friends like the redhead there on the right. Hey, Jake. The redhead there on the right is Aylin. Yeah, we were talking about you earlier, Jake. You always come after you're being talked about. It must be like this innate spider sense you're getting, like, oh, I got to go see the show. So Aylin is a friend with resources. Danello is the one there with the red vest who's got the wicked blade in his hand. And Danello's blade is a part of the top tier on this book. So
I saw that on the campaign. Yeah.
The top tier is a 3D printed version of Danello's blade.
Oh, 1 second. Let me
And it says Danello's blade right there.
That's dope.
So the blade is pretty cool looking. Yeah.
And there's only a limited amount of those, I think.
Yeah, my 3D printer is willing to do 10 of these for me. So there is a limited number. These take 16 hours each.
16 hours each to print.
Yep, exactly. Hey, Dave, good to see you, bud.
What's going on, Dave? What's going on, Jake? Thank you very much for stopping by to the show.
Appreciate you guys.
Dojo Kun. So this is.
So on the campaign, Zilson did the main cover that you see there. It's on FundMyComic and it's on Kickstarter. And the reason it's on both, for those of you who wonder why would I do that, is because with Kickstarter, I hope to reach a very wide audience of novel fans, people who are Janice Hardy's fans, and book reviewers who might review her novels, subsequently my comics, and maybe get the word out. So I'm really hoping to reach a wider audience with this. Yeah, exactly. So on FundMyComic, though, the Danello's Blade is available in the top tier. So in that tier, you'll get both covers, the making of Ashcan, and the coloring book. So I thought a coloring book might be a neat thing to add to this because, after all, this is based or, aimed at a wide audience, all ages. So I thought the coloring book would be fun. There it is, 22 pages. It's got some scenes from inside the book and plus some other pinups. There is a one-of-a-kind glittered sketch card that Dave Ryan created and autographed. So that's available right there. Yep.
This one. There it is.
So her eyes have glitter, her lips have glitter, and her powers have glitter. So it's very cool. There's no way to really reprint that. So this is just one of a kind. I do have one variant cover. Oh, I'm sorry. The making of that you have on there now. The making of Ashcan is 20 pages, and it shows the development of, from sketch concept to finished sketch to inked sketch to colored. So it shows the development of the characters and their pinups and things like that. So that was fun to put together. And the person who did the chibi art, you see the little example there of Naya chibi art. Yeah. I reached out to him on pretty much all of my previous campaigns, and he does some amazing work. When you ask, let's say for Naya, he'll give you 6 different poses of the character, and you can pick which one he'll finish. So like he gives you a rough sketch, 6 different sketches, and then he finishes the one you like best.
Nice. That's awesome. It's awesome when you get those kinds of options to work with. Right.
I also got a variant cover by Renzo Rodriguez. Renzo,
yeah, I'll show that.
I wanted to talk about Renzo's work. Renzo really loves to draw the sexy ladies. On Projectile Reptile. Projectile Reptile, he did the cover that Michael Bancroft affectionately calls the ass grab cover. So when he did this cover, he made Naya way too sexy. I had to tell him, you know what, Renzo, this is absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to keep this in my files, but this is a 14-year-old. He's like, oh, man. He's like, oh. So he went back to the drawing board, gave her softer features, made her look more like a teen, put the chicken in a strategic place so to not have her too chesty for a 14-year-old, turned her body slightly so it wasn't a huge ass shot, and just made it more appropriate for the character. So I appreciate his willingness to make that edit.
Yeah.
Now she's
like
wearing
the sweet
sneakers.
Renzo Rodriguez art.
Yeah, she's wearing sneakers right there. That may be a little bit of an anomaly because this book is set in, I would say, sort of right between medieval and the Renaissance. So when the Renaissance era came about, the Knights Templar were on their way out. This seems to be like right about that time. Now it's a fictional world, so she can have anything she wants in it, but most of it is fighting with swords. They're on horseback. So it's sort of that era before the Industrial Revolution.
Nice. So it's back in that area, but she's got jeans on?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He may not have realized the era this was set in, so I'm going to forgive that anomaly. I think that the art is just absolute gorgeous. Nice. So I mean, she'd be wearing shoes of some kind. I just don't know what kind of shoes they'd wear back then. I think they'd probably be leather. Their shoes. I don't know. You know who would know is Michael Odin. He'd be all over me about the history.
Elvis and R. Kelly would have been okay with it.
Yeah, Jake, they would have.
Oh man.
And
14 years later, that's the number they keep saying
Spacey,
too, man. Oh man.
And Harvey Weinstein would probably like it. And I hear you.
Yeah, man. Renzo's he's doing that. That's the art you can expect from Renzo. He does really good artwork. And then he never shies away from doing the ladies like that.
Another thing he's good at, and my interior artist Zilson Costa is good at, is drawing teenagers. And you and I were talking about this before the stream, and that is that I think it's very important if you're drawing a teenager that you don't just draw a small adult. The teenagers need to have softer, rounder features because they have not yet come into their square jaw. If it's a male, I mean, if you look at, right there, that's a little girl. That girl is about 7. So although she's like ready to fight, you can tell that she's a little girl. The guy holding the sword, his name is Danello. He's probably 16 or 17. So he still has the rounded features, so it's important that they don't look like adults yet because they're not. Now, later in the series, when you get to the 3rd novel, years have passed. So, she'll be close to 18. Danella will be 19, maybe early 20s. so they can start looking more like adults at that point.
Nice.
Dave Brink in the chat is asking if I'll be adding a digital option. So far I haven't. I need to talk to Janice about it. I think what I'll do for the international backers, I understand why he asks that. He's in the Netherlands. I'm thinking about making a digital available when I go to Indiegogo with this. If this is a success and funds, I'm going to go to Indiegogo, because why leave money on the table? Who knows who on Indiegogo either won't back Kickstarter or don't even see it on Kickstarter. You know, the people have varying opinions and reservations about the various platforms. So I'd still like to reach out to the Indiegogo audience and see if they're supportive. So at that point, I may be adding the digital tier.
Nice. Yeah, I'm always happy when creators offer digital options, because that's also what works best for me.
I'll be honest with you too.
I like digital.
I think that with this IP, if we fund, I would be, you know what, I'm going to say it right on your show, Elliot. I'll add the digital tier. Yes, exclusively first mention. I'll add the digital tier to every physical backer, at least.
Nice. You heard it here, folks. Exclusive. You get digital option when you back. So be sure to back. Be sure to back. This is on FundMyComic. I have the link for this just in case in the description. I'm going to post it in the chat. Just give me
I also want to tell you, on FundMyComic, the first backer was Alex VRB. He's always the first backer. Because he was first, he gets this print. This print was when Jake and I both launched our projects at the same time. So Jake had Cobalt right here, this guy.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And Naya is from the Shifter. So we launched at the same time. I don't recommend doing that, folks. Don't do that. But we reached out to Shelby Robertson and had him do this X-Men 141 homage. And we reached out to 15 different CG creators. You'll see this is Ella from the Lucent. This is Reaper Destroyer. This is Strees from Type 1, etc. And there's a key on the back in case any of the characters aren't familiar to you. But the reason I'm bringing this up, even though Alex VRB was the first backer and got this print, on FundMyComic, the 13th backer gets this print too. And the reason I say that is we launched on Friday the 13th.
Okay, I got you.
So, yes, Dojo does not have Frigatriskaidekaphobia.
What?
Frigatriskaidekaphobia is the fear of Friday the 13th.
Oh, that's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Yes. If you
I saw you tweet that. I thought his keyboard messed up. Oh, man.
So if you have a fear of the number 13, that's just triskaidekaphobia. But if it's specifically Friday the 13th, it's Frigatriskaidekaphobia, because Frigga is the Norse goddess of Fridays.
Oh, wow. Oh, nice. Crazy stuff. That's cool.
See, you learn something new every day.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the perks of having Dojo on the show. Yeah, thank you very much.
You bet.
Awesome stuff, man. And I'm sorry for the background noise. I don't know if you heard that.
No issues. That's fine.
And so I think that would be about it. I don't know if there's anything else, or if you're in the chat, if you have any questions for Dojo, please post them in the comments, and I'll be sure to ask.
And if you have
Dojo
any questions
here
after the show, I'm on 4 more shows after this today, and of course, Incendiary is on at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. So Incendiary is the show I host with other individuals. Jake in the chat is on my show. I've got
Jake's
Fanta on the show.
And
Peter Zero, Peter Orchard Studios, and me.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great panel. I was on the show about a month and a half ago. It was really good. Really good time.
It's a fun time. Tonight's topic is: would you live in the universe you created?
Oh, nice.
And Dave already chimed in on Twitter. He said he absolutely would live in the universe he created.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Duck Bacon. Yes, they need to knock that off.
Reboot of Frigga Disca.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. No, but yeah. Also, to touch on that, when we were on the show, Blue Samurai gave feedback to I forgot who was on the show with me that day, man. And then he had to jump out of the stream, and I said, "Hey, Blue," before he jumped out, and he reached out to me afterwards, and I told him, "No, I was just joking with you, but I wanted to see if you had any feedback on my comic." because he was giving feedback to the other creator.
Oh,
I forgot
okay.
who that guy is. And he went out of his way also to read the comic and then give me a lot of good insight and feedback. Really cool cat. And yeah, you guys should definitely check out Incendiary. I think it's living up to its title with recent events. No, I think it's caused
you
quite
might
a
be
stir,
able to say
so,
that.
yeah.
So I'm going back through the banners of the show.
Yeah.
Okay, you said it was about a month and a half ago, right?
Yes, it was me.
Let's see.
Because it's not. I think it was a new creator. Or at least it's the first time that I've been.
Here you are. It was Stephen Brown, and yep, Stephen Brown. Right.
Yeah, and I was able to get some really good feedback from Blue Samurai and really good stuff. And yeah, so you guys be sure to check out Incendiary. I have in the description the links to the campaign for the shifter. It's also in the chat. I have the link also for Dojo's YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to his channel. He's got a show on every Tuesday.
Wednesday.
And oh yeah, today's Wednesday. I'm sorry.
Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Wednesday at 10 p.m. at night. Yeah, so Wednesday in the morning with me, Wednesday at night with Dojo. So right. And yeah, just be sure to follow him there. And yeah, I think that will be about it. I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to say.
I want to say that first of all, I appreciate you, Elliot, for having me on. I appreciate those of you who came to the chat, those of you who watched us on the replay. If you decide not to back, but I mean, why wouldn't you? But if you decide not to, and you see me tweet about it, if you could retweet, that would be much appreciated, because every eye on the project might be another backer.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so please be sure to retweet. And it says stop streaming at crazy times, Dojo.
I'm sorry that it's 3:00 in the morning for you. I apologize.
Yeah, it's funny that he says that, because Sundays at midday or at 2:00, I think
2 p.m.
Yep. With 2 p.m. when Dave streams, that's a crazy time for me. So yeah, but yeah. So also sub to Genuine Comics. He's got his Genuine Comics. He's got his channel also. He streams on Sundays at 2 p.m. Be sure to check it out. And my sister's here, and she missed it. Yeah, you missed it. You have to hit it up on the replay. Just go back to the very beginning and watch it again. Yeah, and then Chauncey, thank you very much. Thanks, and yeah, so that'll be all. I don't know if you have anything else.
Nope. Just if you don't like my politics, back my book anyway.
Excellent. And yeah, so with that, we'll sign off, and I will see you 2 weeks from now. Yes, not remember that my show is bi-weekly. So today we have a show, next week no show, and then on the 1st of November we have another show.
So it's bi-weekly. Elliot puts the B in LGBTQ.
I gotta represent everybody, man. But yeah, so thank you very much to everyone in the chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching, and I will see you in the next show. Have a good rest of the day. You guys be safe. And we're out.